Sundar Pichai learned rare lessons from Narendra Modi. Mother's kindness. The night was quiet in Delhi, yet Sundar Pichai could not sleep. He had traveled thousands of miles from America, but his mind was restless. He had been invited to meet the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, but what truly touched him was something unexpected. He had heard whispers about Modi's mother, an elderly woman whose kindness and humility had left a deep mark on everyone who met her. Sundar felt curious, almost drawn, as if life was offering him a lesson he did not yet understand. From the moment he entered the modest home, Sundar realized this visit was different. There was no grand decoration, no shining lights, no loud voices. Instead, the house carried a quiet dignity, filled with memories of struggles and sacrifices. When Modi's mother walked into the room, Sundar noticed her gentle steps and calm smile. Her sari was simple. Her hands showed the marks of years of work, but her eyes shone with peace and warmth. She welcomed him not as a global CEO, not as a powerful guest, but simply as a son who had come home. That single moment shook Sundar. All his life he had been respected for his position, for his achievements, for his success in leading one of the biggest companies in the world. But here, in this small living room, none of that mattered. He was seen as a human being first, and that struck his heart deeply. As they sat together, she offered him tea in a plain steel glass. Sundar hesitated for a moment. Back in California, he was used to expensive cups, professional service, and polished environments. But here, the steel glass felt like something different, something raw, honest, and pure. He took it with both hands, and as he drank, he felt a strange comfort. The taste was simple, yet it carried a depth that reminded him of his childhood in Chennai. Narendra Modi's mother spoke softly, her words slow and thoughtful. She told him about the days when she had little food for her children, how she worked tirelessly to give them education, and how she believed humility was more powerful than wealth. She said, "A person's respect is not measured by what he wears or what he owns, but by how he treats those who have less than him." Those words sank into Sundar's heart like seeds falling into soil. He thought about the endless board meetings, the competition in Silicon Valley, the constant chase for innovation. Yet, in all that rush, he had often forgotten these simple truths. The room fell silent for a moment. Sundar looked at her and realized he was not just listening to a mother. He was listening to a philosophy shaped by decades of sacrifice. The steel walls of her home told stories of resilience. Her gentle smile spoke of patience. Her every word carried the weight of a life lived with kindness, even in hardship. Suddenly, Sundar felt a memory rising. He remembered his own mother, Lakshmi Pichai, who had once been insulted at a gold shop because she wore a simple sari and looked ordinary. Yet she had carried herself with dignity, teaching Sundar never to measure people by wealth. The parallel between the two mothers struck him like lightning. He felt his throat tighten, his chest heavy. It was as if destiny had brought him here to connect the dots between his past and his present. He realized something else, too. Kindness is rare not because people cannot give it, but because in a world full of pride and comparison, very few choose to live by it. Modi's mother had chosen, and in that choice lay her greatness. As the evening stretched, Sundar found himself asking her questions, not about politics, not about power, but about life. He asked, "How did you stay strong when everything felt against you?" She smiled gently and replied, "Strength is not about fighting loudly. It is about standing quietly when storms pass over you. Strength is about believing the sun will rise even if the night is too long." Those words stayed with him. He could feel the depth behind them. It was not just advice. It was wisdom carved by years of real struggle. By the time Sundar left the house, his mind was heavy, yet peaceful. He had come expecting to meet a leader's mother, but he had met a teacher of life, He had come expecting to give respect, but instead, he had received it. And most importantly, he had come as a CEO, but he was leaving as a student who had just learned one of the rarest lessons. He sat in the car, the streets of Delhi rushing past his window, but his eyes were far away. He thought about how this story must be told. Not just about technology or success, but about the silent power of humility, the invisible strength of kindness. The night sky above Delhi glittered with stars, and Sundar whispered to himself, "Today, I did not just meet a mother. I met a mirror of what humanity should be." The quiet test of humility. The next morning, Sundar woke up early in Delhi. The words of Modi's mother echoed in his mind like a soft drumbeat. Strength is about standing quietly when storms pass over you. He could not stop thinking about it. All night he replayed her calm smile, her simple steel glass of tea, her gentle yet powerful words. But life has its way of testing lessons the moment they are learned. As Sundar prepared for a meeting later that day, he faced something unexpected. The hotel staff, unaware of who he was, treated him casually, almost carelessly. His luggage had been delayed, and when he requested help, the receptionist replied coldly, "Sir, you must wait. Many guests are in line." Sundar noticed the impatience in her voice, and for a brief second his ego rose. He thought, "Back in California, people run when they hear my name. They do not make me wait." But then he paused. The memory of Modi's mother came back. She had lived her whole life without demanding respect, yet she had received it from everyone who knew her. Sundar took a deep breath, nodded, and said softly, "Thank you. I will wait." The receptionist looked surprised. Most guests argued, some shouted, but here was a man, dressed simply, smiling patiently. She did not know he was the CEO of Google, but his humility left her silent. When Sundar finally got his luggage, he walked to his room and whispered to himself, "This is the test. To stay grounded when you have every reason to rise." Later that afternoon, he traveled to a local school where he was invited to speak with children. As he entered, the children clapped, their small hands echoing in the classroom. Sundar smiled, warmly remembering his own days as a student in Chennai, sitting in small wooden benches, listening to teachers who worked hard despite limited resources. One child stood up and asked, "Sir, how can we become successful like you?" Sundar thought deeply before answering. Usually, in America, he would speak about technology, hard work, and innovation. But now, with the lessons fresh in his heart, he said something different. Success is not just about reaching the top. It is about staying kind when you reach there. It is about remembering where you started and respecting those who are still climbing. The children listened silently. Their teacher, standing at the back, wiped a tear from her eye. She had seen many guests speak, but few had spoken with such simplicity. After the session, a small boy walked to Sundar and handed him a pencil. It was broken at the end, chewed slightly, but the boy's eyes shone as he said, "This is all I have, but I want to give it to you." Sundar felt his chest tighten. He took the pencil carefully, held the boy's hand, and replied, "This is more valuable than gold because it comes from your heart." That moment reminded him of something his own mother once told him. When Sundar was a child, Lakshmi Pichai had said, "True gifts are not measured by price. They are measured by love." Now he realized how deeply connected those lessons were to what Modi's mother had shared. That evening, Sundar returned to meet Narendra Modi and his mother again. The Prime Minister greeted him warmly, but it was the mother who looked at him with eyes that seemed to see beyond his surface. She asked, "Did you remember what I told you?" Sundar nodded and shared what happened at the hotel and at the school. He explained how he had chosen patience over pride and how a child's broken pencil became his most precious gift. She listened quietly, her face calm. Then she said, Life gives you small moments to test your big values. Do not wait for grand events to prove who you are. Kindness is proven in silence, in small acts, in moments when no one is watching. Her words struck Sundar again. He realized she was right. Many people believe values are shown during speeches, awards, or headlines. But the truth is, values reveal themselves in waiting lines, in how we speak to staff, in how we respond to children. That night, Sundar looked at the broken pencil on his hotel table. He placed it carefully in his diary, deciding he would carry it back to California, not as a simple pencil, but as a symbol of humility, respect, and kindness, the very foundation that both his mother and Maudi's mother had lived by. But what Sundar did not know was that the coming days would bring even greater tests, moments where his patience and humility would face storms bigger than he ever imagined. The storm of pride the next day brought a different challenge. Sundar was invited to a private dinner hosted by influential businessmen in Delhi. The hall was decorated with golden lights, shining chandeliers, and long tables filled with expensive dishes. Men in suits spoke loudly about their power, their money, their positions. Everyone seemed eager to show they were more important than the other. Sundar entered quietly. Some people recognized him instantly and rushed to greet him, but others ignored him, thinking he was just another guest. One man whispered loudly enough for others to hear, "He may run a company, but here in India, we are the true kings of business." Laughter filled the table. For a moment, Sundar felt anger rise inside him. He could have silenced the room by simply stating his name, his position, his global influence. He could have shown them the power of Google, the reach of his voice across continents. But then, like a soft whisper, he remembered the words of Modi's mother. Kindness is proven in silence, in small acts, in moments when no one is watching. So, he chose silence. He sat, ate the food quietly, and treated even those who mocked him with gentle respect. The businessmen kept talking, some throwing arrogant remarks, but Sundar's calmness became louder than their pride. One old man at the table noticed this. He leaned closer and asked softly, "Why do you not defend yourself?" Sundar smiled and replied, "Because respect is not demanded, it is earned, and I do not need to prove myself by speaking louder than others." The old man's eyes softened. He nodded slowly and said, "Then you are richer than all of them." As the dinner ended, one of the younger businessmen finally discovered who Sundar really was. The room grew silent. The same people who had mocked him now tried to shake his hand, their voices filled with flattery. But Sundar remained the same, calm, humble, gentle. He did not punish them with harshness, nor did he reward them with fake smiles. He simply offered quiet respect. Later that night, as he left the hall, Narendra Modi's mother was waiting outside with her son. She had been told what happened. She looked at Sundar with kind eyes and asked, "Did you feel hurt?" Sundar hesitated, then admitted, "Yes, I felt hurt, but I also felt peace when I chose silence." She placed her hand on his shoulder and said, "Hurt is the shadow of pride. If you let go of pride, hurt will also disappear. People may insult you, but your dignity is not in their hands. It is in yours." Those words struck Sundar deeper than anything he had heard. He realized the real storm was not the mocking of others. It was the pride inside him that wanted to rise, to prove, to fight. When he chose humility, the storm passed quietly. The next morning, Sundar sat by his hotel window, holding the broken pencil the child had given him. He thought about the receptionist, the school children, the businessmen. Every situation had tested him in a different way, yet the answer was always the same: humility and kindness. But life was not finished with him. Destiny had prepared an even harder test, one that would not come from strangers or businessmen, but from someone closer. someone who would challenge not just his patience, but his heart. The wound of misunderstanding. The following day, Sundar traveled to Ahmedabad for a community program arranged by local leaders. The event was meant to inspire young students, but also to show how technology could connect villages to the world. Sundar was excited, yet nervous, because he wanted to honor the lessons he had been learning from Modi's mother. The program started beautifully. Students performed cultural dances, teachers spoke with hope, and villagers welcomed Sundar with flowers. But soon, a small misunderstanding began to grow like a spark turning into fire. During his speech, Sundar spoke about the power of education and how every child deserved equal opportunity. He said, "We must focus not only on building cities of glass, but also on villages of strength, where every child has the right to dream." The audience clapped warmly. But one local businessman sitting in the front row frowned. He whispered to others, "He is insulting us. He thinks we only care about money and cities." His words spread quickly through a few people in the crowd. Whispers turned into murmurs, and some villagers began to believe Sundar was criticizing them. The atmosphere shifted. The respect that filled the air moments ago now felt heavy with doubt. Sundar noticed the change. His heart raced. He could feel judgment rising against him, even though he had spoken with sincerity. For the first time on this journey, he felt truly misunderstood. Narendra Modi's mother, who had also come to bless the event, watched quietly from the side. She could see the storm building in Sundar's eyes. After the program ended, she asked him to walk with her under the banyan tree near the school. Sundar's voice broke as he said, "I did not mean harm, but they think I disrespected them. Why is it that kindness sometimes gets twisted into insult?" The old mother looked at him, her eyes filled with patience. She replied, "Because truth travels slowly, but doubt runs fast. You must not let their misunderstanding become your anger. If your heart is clean, time will show them." Sundar felt a heavy silence. He wanted to defend himself, to explain to every single person that his words were about hope, not insult. But once again, he remembered her teaching. Strength is about standing quietly when storms pass over you. The next morning, something unexpected happened. A teacher from the village visited Sundar with a group of children. She said, "Yesterday, some people were confused, but the children understood. They told me you gave them courage to dream." A small girl stepped forward and held Sundar's hand. She said, "Sir, you said we can dream big. I will study hard and become a doctor." Her voice was soft, but it cut through all the noise of doubt. Sundar bent down, looked into her eyes, and whispered, "Never stop believing in yourself." That moment washed away the pain of misunderstanding. Sundar realized that true kindness does not always receive applause. Sometimes it receives criticism, suspicion, or even silence. But if even one child finds courage, then the effort is never wasted. Later that evening, Modi's mother sat with Sundar and said, "Do not fear when people misunderstand you. Even truth is sometimes rejected before it is accepted. Your work is not to control their thoughts, but to keep your heart pure." Sundar bowed his head, feeling both humbled and strengthened. He realized this wound of misunderstanding had carved a deeper space inside him, a space where patience and kindness could grow stronger. Yet destiny was not done. As Sundar prepared to leave the village, a message reached him. Someone very close to his heart was about to question his choices in a way that would shake him more than strangers ever could. The question of his own heart when Sundar returned. To Delhi, he found a message waiting for him from his own family. His mother, Sundar Pichai, had heard about his journey and the stories of Modi's mother. She was proud of him, yet her message carried a quiet weight. It said, "Sundar, remember that humility is not only for strangers, it is also for those who know you best." Those words struck him deeply. He thought he understood humility after facing businessmen, strangers, and villagers. But now, his own mother was reminding him that the hardest test often comes at home, where pride hides behind love. Later that evening, he called her. Her voice was soft yet firm. She asked, "Sundar, do you still remember the gold shop?" His throat tightened. He remembered that day clearly. He had been a boy, walking beside her when a shopkeeper mocked her for looking simple. He had felt anger, shame, and helplessness, but she had stayed calm, teaching him that dignity does not need loud defense. "Yes, Amma, I remember," Sundar replied. She said gently, "I taught you that day not to measure people by wealth. But tell me, do you still live by that lesson? Or do you only speak about it when others are watching?" Her words pierced his heart. He knew she was asking if his humility was genuine or if it had become something he displayed like a polished speech. Sundar sat in silence, unable to answer quickly. The truth was painful. There were times in California when he had felt pride creep into his decisions. Times when he had enjoyed the respect people gave him more than the responsibility that came with it. His mother's question now exposed those hidden cracks. The next morning, Sundar met Narendra Modi's mother again. Her calm face carried a quiet wisdom. He shared the conversation with his own mother and confessed, "Sometimes I wonder if my humility is only on the surface. What if I am still proud inside?" She looked at him kindly and replied, "Every human heart carries pride like a shadow. The question is not whether you have pride, but whether you let pride control your steps. Shadows will always follow, but you can choose to walk toward the light." Those words sank into him. Sundar realized humility was not a permanent achievement, but a daily choice. It was not a crown to wear, but a path to walk. Later that day, Sundar faced another test. A close colleague from Google had flown in to meet him. During their discussion, the colleague grew frustrated and said sharply, "You are forgetting how the company runs. You speak of kindness and humility, but decisions need strength and boldness." The words stung. Sundar felt the urge to argue, to prove his leadership. But once again, the memory of both mothers guided him. Instead of defending himself, he said calmly, "Strength without kindness becomes cruelty, and kindness without strength becomes weakness. We must carry both." His colleague fell silent, taken aback by the clarity of his answer. The tension softened, and the conversation moved forward. That night, Sundar sat alone with the broken pencil from the village child and whispered to himself, "Amma is right. Humility must live at home, at work, and in my heart, not just in my words." But as he reflected, an unexpected piece of news arrived, something that would shake the foundation of all he had learned so far. The storm of responsibility. 2 days later, Sundar received news that shook him. During his stay in India, a sudden controversy had erupted online. A group of critics accused him of ignoring local issues while praising foreign innovation. Headlines painted him as someone disconnected from the struggles of ordinary Indians. Social media buzzed with anger. Some voices even mocked his recent speeches, twisting his words into arrogance. Sundar felt the pressure of millions of eyes staring at him. His team rushed to manage the crisis. One advisor told him, "You must release a strong statement. Defend yourself. Show them they are wrong." Another suggested, "Stay silent. The noise will fade." But Sundar's heart was restless. He thought of Modi's mother and his own mother. He remembered their lessons. Humility is not about silence alone, and kindness is not weakness. He needed to respond, but not with pride, not with fear. That evening, instead of a formal press conference, Sundar visited a small government school in Delhi unannounced. Children were studying in a dim classroom with cracked walls. Sundar sat on the floor among them, speaking softly, asking about their dreams. Someone captured the moment and shared it online. The photo of the global CEO sitting cross-legged with village children spread quickly. Later, he addressed the public with simple words. I was born in a simple home in Chennai. I know what it means to struggle. Technology is not for the rich alone. It is for every child, every dreamer. My journey is proof that small beginnings can lead to big futures. His voice carried not the tone of defense, but the truth of humility. Slowly, the anger online began to soften. Many people wrote, he speaks with heart, not with pride. That night, Narendra Modi's mother called him to sit beside her once again. She placed her fragile hand on his arm and said, storms will always come when you walk a path of truth. But storms are not meant to destroy you. They are meant to test if your roots are deep. Sundar felt tears in his eyes. He whispered, Maya, I fear I will fail sometimes. She replied, failure comes when you forget who you are. As long as you walk with humility, you will never be truly lost. Her words healed the weight in his heart. Sundar realized that leadership was not about pleasing everyone, nor about winning every argument. It was about standing steady in the storm, rooted in values, not swayed by pride or fear. But destiny was not finished. Just when Sundar thought he had survived the worst, another message arrived. This time, it was personal. His own family in Chennai was facing a challenge that demanded not his words but his actions. A test of kindness, deeper than all the others, was waiting at his own doorstep. The final lesson of kindness. When Sundar reached Chennai, he found his family in quiet distress. His younger cousin, a bright student with dreams of studying abroad, had been rejected by a scholarship committee. The boy felt broken, sitting in silence, refusing food. His hope dimmed. Relatives whispered that Sundar should use his influence. You are the CEO of Google, one uncle said. Make a call, pull some strings, open a door for him. If you don't, what use is all your power? Sundar's heart felt torn. On one side was family expectation, and on the other side was fairness. He remembered Modi's mother's words. Do not fear when people misunderstand you. Even truth is sometimes rejected before it is accepted. He sat beside his cousin and asked softly, do you want success that is handed to you, or success that is earned by your strength? The boy looked up with tears in his eyes and whispered, I just want a chance. Sundar took his hand and said, I cannot promise you shortcuts, but I will promise you guidance, support, and every lesson I have learned. The world may close one door, but together we will build another. Those words did not bring instant joy, but they planted hope. Sundar spent the next few days mentoring his cousin, helping him prepare again, not with power, but with patience. He told him stories of rejection he himself had faced, how he once feared he would not even get into Stanford, how doors had closed for him too. Yet he kept walking. His mother, Sundar Pichai, watched silently and then said, Sundar, this is the real test. You could have shown your power, but you chose to show your kindness, and that is the greater strength. The room grew still. Sundar felt the weight of both mothers' lessons, his own and Narendra Modi's mother. Humility, respect, resilience, kindness. They were no longer just words. They were living choices. Months later, his cousin earned a new scholarship, this time on pure merit. The joy in his eyes was brighter than anything Sundar could remember. In that moment, Sundar knew the path of kindness had led to true victory. Before leaving India, Sundar visited Modi's mother one final time. She was sitting quietly, her hands folded in prayer. When she saw him, she smiled gently and said, You have walked through storms, and you have not lost yourself. Remember, Sundar, greatness is not measured by how high you rise, but by how gently you carry others with you. Sundar bowed his head. He felt no crown of power, no burden of pride, only gratitude. As his plane lifted from India back to California, Sundar looked out at the sky. The broken pencil from the child was still in his pocket, and the words of both mothers were carved in his heart forever. He whispered softly, "Kindness is not rare because people cannot give it. It is rare because few choose it, but I will choose it every day." And with that, Sundar carried the lessons of humility, resilience, and kindness across oceans, determined to spread them not just in boardrooms, but in classrooms, homes, and hearts around the world.